Smarter Than a Disciple, the show where we test your knowledge of the Bible. This week we are focusing on Jesus' teachings in the Sermon on the Mount. Now let's give it up for our MC extraordinaire, Sonny.
Thank you, Johnny. Hello, hello, hello. And a warm welcome to our disciples over here. They are well versed in Jesus' teaching and ready to play. Now, let's meet our first contestant.
Okay, Sonny, bring on Adam. Sharing his knowledge with young people. He excels at sports and is a lover of apples and the Bible. He is here today playing for his favorite charity, the Ball Spot United Methodist Church Food Pantry. We're feeding those in need. And here we have Abigail. Abigail is an accomplished chef and business owner. When she is not feeding the hungry souls, she can be found nurturing her husband and children. She is playing today for her favorite charity, Feed for Life, where women in third world countries can take charge of their lives, own their own homes, and be entrepreneurs in their homeland.
Thank you, Johnny. We've met the disciples and the contestants, so let's get down to business. The first question is to you, Adam, for $100. It is a true or false question. A Fortune 500 CEO is never poor spiritually. What do you think?
Well, Sonny, that is a good question. Poor in spirit has nothing to do with monetary wealth. It refers to being humble in God's presence. One who is conscious of his sins and feels unworthy of God's grace, I would say that wealth is not tied to faith. A rich person who relies on God's guidance and seeks forgiveness of his sins through Jesus' sacrifice can be considered poor in spirit. After all, Dave Ramsey is a CEO and he relies on God's guidance. I would say false. A wealthy person can be poor in spirit.
I think we should poll the disciples. Do you agree with Adam's answer?
The poor in spirit refer to being a person who is not prideful or self-reliant. He or she knows there's no hope without Jesus. We would agree with Adam.
That is correct. This question is for you, Abigail, for $100. It is also true or false. Someone who is merciful could often be found volunteering at a soup kitchen. What say you?
Well, a merciful person would have compassion for others, especially those less fortunate. They would also feel compelled to help. It is that action that affords mercy. That means true. A merciful person would most certainly volunteer, and feeding the homeless or working in a food pantry is a great way to show mercy.
And the disciples, what do you say? Does Abigail have it right?
True. As God gives us, so we should give to others willingly and habitually. When you give God's mercy, you receive God's mercy.
Correct. That's $100 apiece. Now back to Adam. Our first $200 question is multiple choice. Who in the Bible committed godly sorrow? Is it A, the Virgin Mary, B, Judas, C, SpongeBob, or D, Simon Peter?
Godly sorrow. Now that's a tough question. I think you're going for the beatitude of those who mourn. That has something to do with sorrow. Godly sorrow and worldly sorrow, I think. If godly sorrow is committing a sin and knowing that you have sinned against God, but are strong enough to seek salvation and ask for God's forgiveness, then worldly sorrow is when you sin but cannot or do not seek forgiveness through Jesus. SpongeBob is a definite no. Where is he exactly in the Bible? The Virgin Mary was not one to sin and forget to seek forgiveness. That leaves Judas and Simon Peter. Since worldly sorrow leads to death, and Judas committed suicide after sinning against Jesus, then that leaves Peter. He acknowledged that his denial of Jesus was a sin against God. He knew he needed God's grace and was not too proud to ask for forgiveness. So the answer is D, Simon Peter.
Disciples?
Peter knew he sinned and brought dishonor upon himself, but he also knew that God will comfort those who turn to him, just as Simon Peter did.
Excellent. That's another $200 for you. You seem to be well versed in the Beatitudes, Adam. Let's turn back to Adam here. For $200, which of these people is a peacemaker? Is it A, Delilah, B, Squidward, C, King Solomon, or D, Eve?
Peacemaker. Well, Sonny, a peacemaker is one who endeavors to make peace. They are filled with love and delight in people. They are not teasers or easily led astray. We know someone here really likes the SpongeBob scene, but Squidward's not a real choice here. As for Eve and Delilah, they were both easily led astray. Eve in the Garden of Eden was coerced by the devil into disobeying God. And Delilah was led by greed to trick Samson into revealing his weakness, which led to his capture by the Philistines, and ultimately to his death. That leaves the wisdom of King Solomon, who appeased two women who claimed the same baby. He knew that by deciding to divide the baby and give equal parts to both parties, the real mother would reveal herself. He made peace between the women without appeasing both parties. My answer is C, King Solomon.
How about the disciples?
In more recent times, we look to people like Gandhi and Mother Teresa as the embodiment of peacemaking. They are strong and unyielding, seeking to establishment a right relationship between estranged parties based on truth and righteousness. But biblical terms of times, King Solomon was a great example.
You are correct. Okay, move on to the $300 question. Adam, are you ready?
Bring it on.
This one is a fill in the blank. Blessed are those who are meek, for they will what?
Well, no, Sonny, I'm not really sure about this one. I think it's time to use a cheat.
If you are sure, that is an option. What cheat would you like to use? We have Ask the Disciples, Copy, Phone a Friend, and Pester the Pastor. What are the
I think I'll ask the disciples.
Okay, let's ask the disciples. Well, disciples, do you know the answer? Blessed are those who are meek, for they will what?
Let me confer with my fellow disciples for a moment. Now, Benjamin, what do you think?
Well, if memory serves me, the meek are not weak, but they are submissive. Right, Ruth?
That's right, Ben. Meek prefers the soul who's strong but in control.
Yeah, Ruth, they get the job done with grace. and they see God's work in all that they do.
I remember something about an outward expression of inward humility.
I agree, the meek see God in all and know their strength comes from Jesus. But what is the end result?
I think they inherit the earth.
Well, we have our answer. The meek shall inherit the earth.
Well, Adam, what do you think? Will you take the answer the disciples have asked?
Yes, I agree. The meek are considerate of others, and like the ox or workhorse, they are strong and able to get all things done with God's help. They will inherit the earth.
Well done. You now have $600. Another cheat? Well, okay, what would you like to use?
In a situation like this, I'm going to copy.
Copy. That means we turn once again to the disciples. You are agreeing to copy their answer. So, disciples, will you please answer the question?
How could we see God? I think this refers to the beatitude about needing to be pure in heart.
Yeah, being pure means that we understand that we are unclean and that through Jesus we can be clean.
That takes constant focus and active fellowship with God. Purification is not always a comfortable process.
Yeah, like boiling water or purifying gold with fire.
That is very observant of you all. By being pure in heart, we can see God.
Well done. That brings $600. The last round is the $800 question. First to you, Adam. It's been a long day at work. You have drummed up an appetite for God. He will be your food and your drink, the best meal you will ever eat. What is this beatitude?
I will be phoning a friend, Sonny.
And just who is this friend, Adam?
The person in my life that answers my Bible questions. Jacob. Hi, Jake. We're on Are You Smarter Than a Disciple right now. I can really use your help. Are you ready?
Ready when you are.
All right. It's been a long day at work. You've drummed up an appetite for God, and He will be your food and your drink. The best meal you will ever eat. What is this beatitude?
I'm going to have to say that sounds like the fourth beatitude. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. It is referring to the constant feeling of hunger that can be filled with God's grace. The righteous will follow in Jesus' path and seek the peace that comes with belief in Him. Never to believe.
That sounds about right. Thanks, bye. Well, Sonny, you heard the man. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled.
That's 4 for 4, Adams. Kudos to you. Abigail, how about you? Your $800 question is, you go on a long journey to build an orphanage and do God's work, only to find yourself in prison and being tortured for your belief in God. If you would but deny God and denounce Jesus as the Son of God, you could return to your family, but you refuse. What beatitude does this represent?
I will need to turn to an expert on the Bible and pester the pastor.
Okay. Let's pester the pastor. Tonight's guest pastor is from Denver. When he is not leading his flock in the Mile High City, he can be found testing his karate moves on his good friend Chuck Norris. Let's give a disciple-sized welcome to Pastor Luke. Are you ready, Pastor Luke?
I sure am.
The question is, you go on a long journey to build an orphanage and do God's work, only to find yourself in a prison and being tortured for your belief in God. If you would but deny God and denounce Jesus as the Son of God, you could return to your family, but you refuse. What beatitude does this represent?
Well, throughout history, people have been persecuted for their belief in God and Jesus. They are even imprisoned for possessing Bibles in places like North Korea and China. Like Paul before him, today we have Pastor Saeed Abedini, an American sentenced to 8 years in an Iranian prison known for its brutality. He went to build an orphanage and found himself under arrest for his belief in God. The beatitude most fitting for this situation would be, blessed are those who are persecuted because of their righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven.
Wow, a powerful way to live. Abigail, are you agreeing with Pastor Luke?
Yes, that does sound like the right choice.
Correct! We have a tie. Thank you, Pastor Luke, for your assistance this week. We hope to see you back next week. With a tie, that means a sudden death quick draw. The first one to buzz in with the correct answer will be our winner. Step up to your buzzers, contestants. Your tiebreaker question is, where do you find the Beatitudes in the Bible? Adam?
That's easy. That would be Matthew 5, 3 through 9.
Oh, Adam, I'm sorry, but that's incorrect. Abigail for the steal and the win. Do you have the answer?
I believe it's Matthew 5, 3 through 10. We should not forget those who are persecuted for righteousness.
Correct! And we have a winner. Congratulations, Abby. Don't be dismayed, Adam. You will have $14,000 for the BSUMC Food Pantry. To your charity, Abby, Be for Life, we have a check for $100,000. Thank you all for joining us for another nail-biting episode of Are You Smarter Than a Disciple? See you all next week. Until then, go